I'm going to be working on a command line program. It's kind of like a little frameworky thing for building command line tools and interfaces called CLI, mostly because CLI was already taken, so CLI. And I opened up a couple of issues for myself mainly. I haven't touched the package in quite a while, and a lot has changed in Node, so gonna do some kind of package management cleanup stuff, but mainly I'm gonna add the feature to reject unknown flags. By default, it does not, and mainly because the way I like to use command line tools is using them to like invoke other programs that also accept command line flags, and just being able to kind of pass them down through is nice. When you can configure an application from a command line interface is nice. But some people like to know when they've done something wrong, of course. So basically rejecting the flag and giving an error message indicating that you sent the wrong one. So I'm gonna do that today, or at least I'm gonna start on it. And but first, I'm gonna kind of tackle these dependency ones. I don't think I'm going to remove mout, which is modular object-oriented utilities. But I'm gonna kind of clean up the package a little bit first, and then I'm gonna remove flag stuff. So let's take a look. The package is pretty simple, but it's a little out of date. So I think what I want to do here is first get rid of bundled dependencies. This is a bad idea. Most of these are non-compiled, just kind of plain old JavaScript things, but this causes weird dependency problems, especially now that npm kind of does flat dependencies by default. It will do still nested dependencies if it can't resolve a single version, but bundling dependencies not a good idea. So we're going to remove that. That's going to be our first thing we want to do. So let's add that package. This is going to be for issue 13. So let's commit the well, I guess this is more of a package. Remove the bundled depths and declaration. That seems to not be a good idea. It's going to be, I'm going to say this is going to have to be a semver major, because I don't know who is depending on those things being the way that they are when the package ships. So this could break things. This is going to be for number 15. Okay. So want to, I need to, I don't know if I have GPGs. I was going to sign this, but I usually just sign tags. We'll just sign the tag. Let's not worry about visual commits at the moment. Okay, so the rest of this is fine. So that is for 13. Also in here, we want to update chalk. Chalk is at version 2 now, I do believe. So I'm going to update that. So if we do npm show chalk, it's currently at 2.1. So it's a major change, but I'm fairly certain the API hasn't changed significantly. So we're going to do npm install chalk at latest and save. And now go back into, that's weird. Yeah. status. Our package has changed. Chalk is at version 2. Let's git commit. This is a dependency. We're going to move chalk at 2.1.0. And I'm also going to include the package lock. So package lock doesn't get shipped, but it does go with the repository. So if you're working on it locally, it will resolve it that way. With a package file, it's a little bit different than a shrink wrap. So let's make sure that actually still works. Chalk strip color is not a function, so something broke in that. Take a look at the changelog for chalk. Hopefully the document did. Hopefully they documented the breaking change in 2.0 chalk. Let's see, is there a change log? No. See what's new in chalk 2. Great. Hopefully they have something. Breaking changes. Strip colors. Removed strip colors. Use strip ANSI package. Oh, son of a... that is less than ideal. Because I think I'm actually using this package. So let's hold on a minute here. Yeah. All right. So this is gonna have to go. We're gonna have to install this. I think save is the default behavior, but kind of paranoid that way. Git status. So git add package. Git and we're adding strip. Let's see, 4. Strip color function removed in chalk 2. All right, so let's take a look at I don't think I exposed that functionality from the module. Just take a look, make sure that we didn't do that. If we did, we can put it back, but I don't see a script function in here. Let's run that test again and see where that came from. Spec test command spec. We're on line 48. Script color. Okay. So this is gonna have to be require strip in, and we're gonna have to find all occurrences. So let's look for chalk strip color. There's only 2 of these. We're gonna call strip. Okay. I'm gonna bet whatever this particular test was testing is also broken because the strip colors function is gone. Oh. Well, that's interesting. Let's take a look at command. Rock is not in. Isn't here. Strip color. So that's also going to be broken. So let's also. Do I have helpers? Command. Well, we don't need that. That can just be another require. And want strip. Probably strip ANSI because that is not the package that we have to. Or to remove the colors. All right. Let's find all occurrences of chalk strip color. Only two. Could be strip. Okay. npm test. All right, and if we try with our, there's an example command in here, or an example of like setting up CLI. So should be able to run this with -- no color, and it should still work, right? So if we go node examples CLI, it'll print that out. No color. That does work. Perfect. So if we do help world and help world no color, perfect. And we should be also to do world -- help world. Yeah, and -- no color. Perfect. Git add the test. Git status git commit -v. This is going to be lib. Well, actually, command replace chalk strip colors with strip. Oof. With strip ANSI package was removed with chalk 2.0 using recommended strip ANSI package in its place. Now, before we get too much further, I'm going to assume this just does the simple does. So it's also using, this is actually two dependencies, not one. Let's see what else it includes. Okay, so it's only the one package. Can live with that. Let's take a look at this actually does. We don't need all that. So I just want to I make it a point to take a look at the packages that I'm using as dependencies to make sure that I understand what they do, how they work, their other dependencies, and make sure that they don't do anything really weird that I'm not comfortable with. This, oh, it's just a regular expression. It is just a regular expression for ANSI code patterns. All right. Mm, so yeah, it doesn't do a start or an end, which could be problematic, but it's not a global either. Oh wait, it is global. That could be really slow. Um, let's see if we can't var e equals require e. Oh, nope. I think I'm actually going to kill this. Um, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna steal this, and there's a handy dandy. I can never remember the name of this. It's like regexpert, but all weird one word. It's like if you search for regular expression railroad graph, it usually regexper no T. Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess this can be treated as a start character, but there's no end character. It is pretty explicit. Literal. There's a literal one of digit or. All right, this isn't terrible. This shouldn't be much worse. All right, cool with that. So where are we? Status. We are in a clean directory, and we just have basically package cleanup. Dep dep dep. I'm just gonna. I guess. Um, I would. Yeah, I would like to keep these. Well, this won't work without this. So these should go together. Well, let's keep them separate. This is also a major ref for our. Let's see what. Go back to. Oh, here it is. Issues. This is going to be issue 12. So that is that. As a member, this kind of goes hand in hand with that one, and that as well. Okay. I really thought that I exposed that strip colors function as a top level function off the package, but I guess I didn't. Let's just try and make sure that the rest of this. Console.logs li.blue. Okay. Should add a test to make sure that those functions exist. So let's just do that real quick. CLI.spec, want describe color functions. This isn't going to be, guess to do. So this, let's see where this thing actually gets added. I know, yeah, here we go. And we can do, oh, right, this is Mocha. I haven't used Mocha in a while. For var equal to for const color of colors, and then we can just assert assert type function. Don't think that it does. We can just do type of function. That'll work. Assert equal type of CLI color in function. Yep. Pretty sure of that. We can do there should be a top level function. Oh, right. You have to it. I really want to do an arrow function, but that is not how the rest of this is set up. Should probably update. This can be, it's fine. Well, yeah. And this should work. Did it show up? CLI color function. Good. Export color function. Great. All right. So that's good. Let's also tack that onto our lib test. We'll just amend it. Yep. Perfect. All right. So we have knocked off, where did it go? We've knocked off 10 or 12 and 13. I'm not going to do 11 today. I haven't looked at what that would entail. Let's start looking at how we might reject unknown flags. So we need to break open the command class. So our defaults. So here are our default indented weird. I'll be over 1. This should also all be over 1. This should be over. Yeah. And so we're going to add a new option for strict, and it's going to default to false because that is the default behavior right now. We don't want to make it too disruptive. We've already ripped out some packages. So there are 2 functions that kind of run over the keys before things start running, and I think one of them can do this. There's a dispatch function. So there's a dispatch and a validate function that gets called for both. So there's two basic modes. There's a kind of like standard command line tool mode where you just invoke it. Examples, CLI. We can do like world and dash dash help. And so if we do name equals Bill, oh, that's weird. Probably remove that. That was me messing around with stuff. Let's remove that because it's silly. Don't need this. I was just making sure that the URL type actually made sure it was a URL. Okay, so you can see it also, I just had a console log in there, but it exported the output like immediately. That's kind of how you'd expect command line tools to work, but you can also just put it into interactive mode and it'll step you through. So the name of the person can be Bill, Ralph, or Fred. And if you want it to end, you just input empty string, nope, and they are screaming, and there you go. So it ran over and outputted the command differently. So that was like the kind of the shiny gem in the package, right? It can interactively walk you through potential flags, and you can specify which ones you want to include and don't include into the interactive bit. But one of the like really like learning a new command with all of the flags, like learning tar for the first time, is was really intimidating because of all of the incredibly verbose flags. Like let's just look at tar. Like what does all this do? And there's lots of them, and it'd be great if maybe there was an interactive thing to walk you through the most commonly used flags and just kind of stepped you through it so you didn't have to try to man parse all that for the first time. Because really, like when you learn tar, someone just shows you the command to extract a gzip, and you never really ask questions because it kind of works. But okay, so let's take a look back at our command. So we had our defaults. We added a strict. There should be a validate function in here. And this, in fact, runs over all of the keys, removes the stop flags, which are help, interactive, skip, and color, because we don't care. And the problem with this one is the interactive runs over each of them. So interactive falls. This is the series call. What is series? Oh, I wrote that. So there's an inline series function that, all right, because the flags could be the actual like execution of these could be, all right, this is the inquire bit because inquire is asynchronous by nature, and this just runs over the flag. So we'll need like a check. Ooh, excuse me. We need like a check beforehand. I kind of feel like this validate function takes the command, it takes the name of the command, and then it all right. So we don't need to check it during the validate because the validator, I mean, we don't need to validate the invalid keys on the interactive mode because it shouldn't walk you through a key that doesn't exist. So we really only need to do this when we're running it explicitly. And let's see where that happens. So there's probably a run function. There it is. Well, the run function does all of the work. If it's interactive, it does this. Otherwise, it calls dispatch. And interactive also calls dispatch. Dispatch is the function that runs over and emits events for each of the flags as they're encountered if there's a value for them. So you can kind of like wire, you can hook into the life cycle of a command. It's kind of cool. But I think I might actually need to make a new function for this because the interactive one is calling validate. This does in fact call both validate and dispatch. They're mostly the same. So we're going to add a new function to check the keys before we get started and bail if so we want like let's go back to that one function that was actually calling dispatch. Where did we go? Where did it go? Oh, there it is. If the interactive flag was passed, there's an space, extra space in there. So this is if interactive is passed, it will return. Oh, it'll just continue. And the interactive function. All right, so let's do like so this, if it's not an interactive mode, we'll check for flags. We can reorganize this in a minute, but to get this play, let's and then we just want to do object keys. I should probably cache this because this is certainly more done more than once. This dot options dot flags. This gives us all of the flags. And I don't actually want to do this in quite like this. I want to stop. There's no sense in continuing, so we can do this dot options dot flags for const flag of flags, and then we want to grab the current one, so const current this dot option dot flags. We really just want to check to see if as we can just do if not as this dot options dot flags as a flag. Oh, flag. If it doesn't have the flag, if we don't know about it, we want to return. I guess we want to. This would be like unknown flag. I have a set of exceptions. Required flag, invalid field. When does that get? Let's also class unknown flag exception extend. I guess it only really needs to extend error here. We can just. It's weird. It's all indented, funny. Yeah. Constructor field. Field. We want like field. Unknown field. Field. And you'll probably also print out the fields that are, well, no, to just print the error and then immediately return like the output of the help command. So we'll get to that step later. This should, and instead of individuals, I'm going to just assign them all at once here. You could use some destructuring for this, but I don't remember which version of Node that was added, so we will not do that just yet. And let's add doc block for this. Yep. Unknown. Unknown flag exception was of the erroneous flag. Okay. We can change this to also be unknown flag exception, and that here as well. Not what I wanted. When in doubt, type it out. Flag exception. All right. And also the same thing here. Flag exception. All right. Also need to add that. Bottom here. Unknown flag exception. Unknown flag exception. I'm gonna. Oh, the rest of them are like that, so we'll leave it. Okay. And here. Lowercase exceptions. No flag exception. Flag. Error. So if the check doesn't pass, we stop. So let's take our example command here and let's make, well, it doesn't really matter. We just need to change the command to strict and save. I have a debug in here. Yeah, there's no debug in here. I don't know why I have that installed. Is no, I don't have debug. Oh, I do have debug installed. Where does that even get used? I don't know that that package is used at all. -r debug in lib. There's one in command index. Oh, there it is. Where is that? Commands. Oh. Oh. Let's also just pull that in. Let's also pull in debug here so I don't have to console log if it's in strict mode or not. I would like debug. Debug. We're going to call this CLI command. All right. And constructor for the command class, I just want to spit out if strict mode dot options dot strict, and I'm going to, all right, so that command, our helper command is in strict mode, so I can go debug CLI node examples CLI world strict mode true. I think I would like to also include, where does, pretty sure there's a name involved. I'm pretty sure there's a name involved. I think each command knows of its own name. I would like example. Oh, yes, I forgot to write that function. So I have, I wrote that one check as has function has takes an object and a named property, and this is going to return object.prototype dot has own property dot call on the object and apply prop. And the reason I do this is because we don't want to make the assumption that flags is a proper object and not like object create null. And while I'm in here, if there are, I was using mount, and I would like to remove mount, but since I've already gone down that road, let's do that. Okay. If we can't just require this directly. What did I export this? helper command. Don't think I did. I did not. Is this something that I can look at from CLI? This is going to call use. Use equals a function, calls register. Yeah, I think these are hidden from people messing with it. Commands, index, yeah, it is. Take a look at if this thing actually doesn't look like it sets a name on anything. That's okay. Register, this dot register. Registry, I think registry is just an object. It is just an object on register. Registry subname, name, oh, because we're passing it in. Oh, that's fine. And actually, so let's give it a shot one more time. We do that up here. Okay. Node examples, CLI, world should, name is a required option. Yes, it is. Name equals Bill, red equals 1, debug. Oh, yeah. So we're gonna have to pull that out of argv and not. Oh, that would be a better place to do that from. Right, because we have to basically have to pull stuff out of argv before we even get here. There's a little getter function on here in the command class that does this. Argv. So here is parse and has args, and yeah, so this is going through and parsing them. This should probably, this is pulling it off of process argv. Why is it using args? Running it through nopt and parsed. Let's see what I'm pretty sure this should give me back all of the it won't be a, it'll be a, I think this will be like a remaining. Oh, this dot parse. So the debugger off. Parsed. Yeah, so this does have name and red and arg. We could use this. This seems like it would be What is that coming? Let's take a look at where do I have that console log from. This is console log data, and so let's get rid of this. Let's take a look at the run function, because this is this is doing our color. This has to call the options. Does that get called from? So the way that this actually works is this run function does not actually override the run function on the command, which is right here. This is calling all of this data gets set in an isolated object called options, and then this thing just calls options.run, which I imagine is what dispatch does. Dispatch function just returns. Oh, that's weird. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's an interactive. Where's the run function? Run. So here, the run function, we'll call interactive. Otherwise, oh, I was looking at it. This dot options run passes argv, and that is a getter. I was just looking at that. Get argv. So this runs over parsed. Oh, this returns parsed. So there's going to be a safe flag called argv in here. So let's add a safe flag. Not too keen on that, but we'll come back to this in a second. And I don't think I'm going to be able to use this function loop either. We might have to do it the other way, or const flag of this options flag. We're gonna rip over those and say get rid of that. Probably do if value e arg and the flags do not have this and have own this dot options dot flag e. Right? A little weird right there. If so, as we're going over all of the I think we want to go over all of the parsed keys. We're not our own flag. Yeah, we need to go over the parse. If const opt of this dot parse we can make this if say value play and make this key to make it less confusing. That is the way that it was. So the flag is, so if there is not so we can just do this really quite easily. If key is equal to argv, we can just continue because we don't care. And otherwise, if value and this dot options dot not value, if stop script be an error if the strict option is not otherwise continue. So we have the flag. So we don't need this check here. Yep. And then we don't really need this either. Don't need to alias it because we don't have a closure anymore, which is great. All right, so we are piling the parsed options. We're ripping over the parsed options because we want to actually check to see what flags were actually passed rather than the flags that were defined. Yes, this does not need to be a var. Has args also not. I think I did this because I wanted this to work in Node 4, which I'm fairly certain didn't support const. Node green. Let's see what version introduced const. I'm pretty sure it was 6. Const. Basic support for const. Landed. Oh, it wasn't 4. Oh, right. I'm using it in this file. I don't know why I did that. We don't ever have to. We're not modifying it. That's fine. All right. All right. So let's make our error. Let's find that check function that we wrote. That error actually. Let's see how terribly this actually breaks it. Yeah. I think we're gonna trace this one. Yeah. What version? Uh, so we're gonna start this in inspector mode. I think it should just inspect brk. I think this should just. So let's start Chrome. Inspect. All right. So we got Chrome Inspector. Let's just let it run until we actually get to. Oh, it already crashed. Oh, this dot parsed is probably object create null. Let's run the. Let's start a trace. What's in? Line 230. Parsed gets returned from nopt. I'll bet you nopt returns object create null. GitHub, nopt, opt, nopt. That's confusing. Go to the npm page and find the repository that way. So page the main file, and this is libnopt. And this data would return. At the end of all of this, this is going to return. Oh boy. Returns shorthands are. I think these are. Yeah, these are helper functions. Where is the nopt function itself? Return data. All right. All right. I think to you can do key. You can do key value of this dot parsed, right? That's um. Huh. Can't you do that? I swear you could do that. You can't just I know you can destructure them. Right? Because you can do oh, you have to do curls. Find undefined. That's weird. All right. We'll look at what that syntax should be later, but let's do object.key over this.parse. This will give us key and value equal flag for that key. If there is no value, we need to make sure that if we're in strict mode, return nothing. Let's do that again. All right, inspect, run. Okay. So our key is name. Our value. Oh, didn't like something. It said that is not defined. That is right because we aren't in a closure anymore. This. Let's just replace all of the that's with this. That will make this far less confusing for everybody. And we'll run it again. Probably just restart the vector. So our parse point. We should probably make a separate object so that this doesn't actually have all that data. That would be a much bigger change. Red. So we're not going to have a value. And this says flag is not defined. This is right. It's going to be. I think that's actually going to work. Now all I'm really concerned about is if it stops. It actually stops or keeps on running. That's unknown field, red. Blue. All right, so it does grab the first one and stops. Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah. Oh, it did. Yeah, perfect. That's what we wanted. Turn. This can probably be no. We can get rid of this little debugger statement, and actually, I think we're all right. We can get rid of that check function. We don't need this. That's not required anymore because it's going to happen when we actually check the incoming arguments. All the rest of these things should work out okay. So run our tests to make sure that there's one that does fail. Insertion error E1 is not equal to undefined. All right. This is command spec 189. Test command spec 189. Default command. What happened here? argv1. Default command flags 1 and 2. And we sent. Did you do that? That's interesting. What was this testing? Should accept default values. It has a default of 1. Yes. Alright, so there's something goofy with default values. Let's try. Let's take a look at that. Get argv default values. I mean, this does in fact return a default if it parsed own key, and we did set parsed. That's interesting. Let's take a look at what that did. Oh, right. It's Mocha. Stupid. I would love to get rid of Mocha too. Where's this stupid test command? I want to, yeah, you have to. Save. Please use node inspect break. How? Oh, right, because Mocha's passing debug break. Stupid. Hate you. There's gotta be, it must have changed the flag for this. I think this version of Mocha is probably outdated. Alright. Oh, a cry for help. That's great. That's the first thing you want to see. We are currently unable to merge most pull requests due to lack of maintenance resources. If you're, oh, great. I think I might have to actually replace this now instead of later. Where's the actual documentation for this thing? All right, here we go. It is still an option. It's still an option, but it isn't supported. All right. I feel like I'm gonna have to change this to even be able to do this. I really dislike how Mocha works. Alright, I am going to quickly rewrite this in not Mocha because Mocha seems to be in a bit of duress. Let's see, where am I? My big diff edge.json. JSON. Check out package.json, npm install --save dev. Go npm. So I'm using tap because it does not fork a new process, or it does not always fork a new process, and it does not inject globals, which means that you can just execute the test file directly, which is what I would like to do right now. So I can like put it inside of inspector and take a look at what's going on in there. With Mocha, it is a bit more of a weird situation because it's like bootstrapping and requiring files, and then it's forking a process, which then also does weird stuff and injects globals, and it is not it's not conducive to like one-off tests. It's really kind of hard to use in that context. So git add package star git commit v. We will call this a deps tap at 10.7 7.2. Because Mocha is, let's not be mean. Let's not be mean. Oh. Get rid of and this will call tt end. This will need to this is going to be a t.test. It's going to pass that as a callback. I mean, I guess this could also be tt.end. These are all going to need to be like that. This is also going to be TT. We can just actually just use the type assertion in and I think you can just give it function. It seems to go back and forth that you can pass it like a primitive object, because I know you can go like TT type and give it an error object and it will do that, but I don't. There's like, it seems to be kind of fussy with functions. So that is the end of that test. And we can make this a tt.test. And this will also be end tt. And you need to explicitly end your test. TN, TT end, and that is the end of the conf test. And this will be a new test, t.test. We'll give it TT back. All these hits be TT test. Yeah. Nope. This one too can be not an assert. All right. And there's a subtest in here for tt.test. That's going to give us that back. I also don't feel like that needs to be there, but this is the end of this. That's the end of the TT. This is going to be the end of T. I don't like this naming convention, but this is what I'm familiar with tap, so deal with it. T test. I was gonna break it. I don't like that. Too many T's. This can just be an OK and T. Yeah. Oof. All right, and all of these can just be copy and replaced. All right. There should not be any asserts in here anymore. All right, so this guy, T, end of this test, and end of that test. So we should be able to do node test and spec. Scribe is not a function. Where do I have to scribe? Oh, this is not command. All right. Line 48. Right. T, oh, yeah, TTT test. Yep, just search for T. What's the problem? All right, and T.ted on line 63. Yep, that is not a function. All right. Well, that's interesting. What? All right, so this one is converted to tap. So now I can just execute this file directly and everyone is happy. And you can still pass it command line, like debug arguments, and it'll spit everything out, and I can trace it with node inspector. Everyone's happy. Mocha seems outdated. This does not work anymore, and I'll bet you there's an issue for this. Issues. Yeah. Oh. Only because it's impossible to pass debug. Yeah. Yeah. This is why I dislike Mocha so much. it's just really hard to use. Like, it's great if you just want to point it at a directory every time and let it do all of its weird magic stuff, but this particular problem where there's a bin mocha and bin underscore mocha, and one calls the other and one spawns the other in a separate process, and like having to step through that thing and figure out where shit is a real nightmare. Tap, on the other hand, doesn't do that. You could also, Ava does very much the same thing that Tap does, but Ava's got a ton of stuff in it that I just don't need or want to deal with, so Tap does fine for right now. And that was a pretty fast conversion, so we're also going to, yeah, we're gonna have to also update the command spec, which is a bit bigger to test. So let's get rid of, I did. Oh, those double quotes. All right. All right, so now this one's going to be bit more involved. This has a lot of subtests. Let's break these down a little bit into. Just gonna collapse these so I can see where they start and stop. That's a big one. Yep. Collapse this guy. Collapse this guy. Oh, this one's doubles in it. This one, right there. Oh. Yep. All right, so let's just work on this one. This is the encompassing actual test, and this is going to be t.end. All right, and this is going to be t.test. We're going to get back this little test object thing that will have to end, and this is also going to be tt test, and we're going to get ttt, and we'll need to end that as well. All right, that one should work. Let's just collapse this so I know I'm done. Fill some of this white space. This is going to give us a t.test, which is going to hand off a ttt, or just two t's, only two. Might get crazy. These are two separate things in here. Subtests. So our tt end, all of our asserts here can be replaced. This will eventually be ttt and ttt end and ttt end We can change this it thing to tt.test. Give us a triple T, and we'll tt.test, and will be ttt. I think this one's done, and so we'll collapse this and expand this guy. This could probably be a, well, no, it can't. So t.test and tt is going to be yeah, tt.test, all of our asserts. Luckily, all of the tap asserts map to the node assert module asserts, so that is handy. And this is also going to be tt.test. We're going to give you 3 of them back. And F. A. This guy, test. And we can place all of the asserts. I don't know which ones are the right keys. And tap does not like it if you cross the streams on your tests. If you call an assert on a higher, like, parent test inside of a child test, bad time. So that's going to be that. And the same is true for any. If you called like the callback function from a Mocha test in a different test, that would also be a bad time. TTT. It's going to be TTT.end. Change our asserts to be insert mode TTT. Yep. And we'll just keep going. All right. Throw one down. Or almost. All right, we did that. Actually, all of these hits here can be. Uh, that is this is going to be yeah, this one. This is the TTTN. So I'm just gonna collapse that one so I can see a little bit better. That looks like the right. That looks right. It's going to be t.test. We got a new test for the run function. All right, so these are a little bit shorter. Let's go down to the bottom. The tt button. This particular test is going to be event driven, so I want 1, 2, 3. I want 3. 1, 2, 3. TT equals, and that should finish that test, and then this should finish our above test. We're done here. This is going to be t.test. Oh, too many. And it's going to be tt.test. This is going to be the end of tt. This one is not using events. We can end here. Convert our asserts. And that one is done. Clean this weird white space thing up. They're just functions. We can clean collapse. Okay, this one is going to be a t.test, and it's going to give us this tt object. And this one is going to give us tt test, which hands off ttt. That's interesting. Here's the end of. This one's got an extra layer in it. Seems like a lot. So we have an end to that, end to the triple T, and now you do not need to name all of these things as T's and T's and TTT's and so on and so forth. You can name them whatever you want. This is how TAP does it, and it's kind of the way I'm used to doing it. So there it be. Okay, this is going to be and this is going to be a TTT test. Gives us 4 T's. Change all of our asserts in here now to 4. And that is the end of this test. One more. All right. Test. And we're going to get 2 T's. Might as well just change this one to be 3. Test. That's the last one of those. So end of the triple, end of the double, and there is the end of the single. We need to assert that this should throw all right. See it. If I did that in one shot, I'll be really impressed. Oh, I think I did. Test unfinished. Line 79. That's probably that was 49. This test, oh, right. Yes. One failed. 79. Why is that unfinished? Oh, what did I just do? Yeah, that's right. 79. So this test says that it's unfinished. T.test passes a TT. I have a TT end. TT.test passes a triple T. There's a and it ends. That's interesting. What? Let's just kill it all together and see what happens there. One failed. After each is not defined. So that's different. Where did that come from? 293. Must be, yeah. Must be collapsed. So this is actually going to be t dot after each. This is going to get a callback actually, and let's do that. We're getting somewhere. Here we go. Strict mode false. Oh no, that's not a test. This is line 200. Line. Oh, great. This is the test that was failing before. Perfect. So we converted all of this stuff to tap, and now we're back to this failing test here. So I'm going to put debugger here, and now we can run this with plain old node inspect brk and inspect it. run it. And so here we have our debugger. I'm going to pull up the command file and look for the argv function. No, that's not it. This one. Argv. Okay. So parsed is actually going to equal, we don't know yet, shorthands, interactive, args. Where are one? Oh. Okay. All right. This not parsed. I think original to. I think this thing was taking into account passed in arguments as args false. So I didn't pass it any args. Let that finish. Look at this test again. All right. So this test is setting a default command, and it is setting a default for number 1 and a default for number 2. So we're missing our default arguments. That doesn't sound right. Value, because we're getting. Oh, that's weird. Why doesn't parsed have anything in it? Conf. Oh, that's interesting. Why doesn't parsed have anything in it? There we go. Let's just open up a dedicated. Something's being lost here. Let's look at our lib command. Our conf shorthands, no args. Okay. And our first object just has our the right, because we're just skipping over this part where it is assigning, if it's an unknown flag, there's no value. There's no value. We should do this here. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. That is what it is. All right, so basically what's happening is if we're just skipping the argv key because it's kind of internal to how nopt operates, so we skip that thing, we grab a value. If there is no value, then we check to see if it is. Oh wait, no, this is getting the flag. Why doesn't one have a flag? This should not be value. That's confusing. This is the flag. That is the flag object, and it should have this dot option is a flags key. Flag should exist because we have a 1, but this is saying that first, oh, maybe it's this keys call. I wonder if that's it. That should really have a value. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let's run this again. Skip this one because we don't care. All right. So let's see. Parsed. We don't have anything. The only thing we passed to this thing was nothing. Yeah, I think. There's a discrepancy because it's checking the parsed instead of the flags. I think we're gonna have to do this in 2 steps instead of 1 because the 2 can be different. All right, because if you don't pass any flags, we want to assign a default value to the appropriate flag, but if you don't pass the flag, then it won't actually be in parsed, which is what nopt is parsing, is the actual argv. We'll want to actually check the flags. We'll actually want to run over the flags to compile this information, but we'll want to run, we will need some kind of like a check function actually to check the keys of parsed against the flags. So you won't be able to do this in 1 step, unfortunately. Yeah, that kind of sucks. But this is logic actually completes like the ability to do the task at hand, which is reject unknown flags. We've validated that that does actually work. We just have to reconstitute the behavior. We just have to reconstitute the behavior with default values for those flags, which is going to be a little bit more involved. But yeah, I'll have to think on that one. I think, actually, let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, we got about 2 hours in. I need a little bit of a break. I'm gonna stew on that one. But